Dad give his restaurant to sister instead of me, saying, "She's my future, you're just a silly waiter." I quit next morning. Years later, I owned 3 locations, and my sister literally burned his place down. I was 17 when I started working at my dad's Italian restaurant. Not because he asked me to, but because I loved that place more than anything. I mopped floors, bussed tables, peeled garlic until my fingers cracked and bled. By 21, I was running the kitchen on Friday and Saturday nights. I redesigned the menu, brought in a wood fire oven with my own savings, and doubled our weekend revenue in 8 months. My dad never said thank you, not once. My sister Adriana showed up maybe twice a month to pose for Instagram photos behind the bar. She couldn't tell basil from parsley. She burned water once, literally left an empty pot on the burner until it warped. But she was Dad's princess, always had been. The night he made his announcement, we were closing up after a packed Saturday service. I'd just finished a 16-hour shift. Dad called us both into his office. "I've made my decision about the restaurant," he said. "When I retire, Adriana takes over." I laughed because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. "She's my future," he said, looking right at me. "You're just a silly waiter." Adriana didn't even flinch. She smiled and examined her nails like she'd known all along. "Dad, I built that menu. I trained every cook in that kitchen. I'm here every single day." "Adriana has the business degree," he said. "She understands branding, social media, things you'll never grasp because you're too busy playing chef." I looked at my sister. She shrugged. "He's right. You're good at cooking, but running a business is different." I walked out and went straight home. Next morning, I left my keys on the counter with a note that said, "Good luck." Didn't answer calls for 3 weeks. Moved 2 hours away with $600 in a duffel bag. Got hired as a line cook at a steakhouse where nobody knew my name. Worked doubles every day, saved every penny, and studied restaurant management at night. 2 years later, I opened my first place, a tiny 12-table bistro in a strip mall. The food was incredible because that's all I knew how to do. Cook with everything I had. Word spread fast. A food blogger called my braised short ribs life-changing, and suddenly there were lines out the door. I opened my second location 14 months later, a proper sit-down restaurant with real tablecloths and a wine list I built myself. My dad heard about it through relatives and called me for the first time in years. "Come back and help your sister. The restaurant is struggling." "I thought she was your future," I replied. "I'm just a silly waiter, remember?" He hung up. I opened my third location last spring, a rooftop place downtown with a chef's tasting menu and a 6-week wait list. Meanwhile, Dad's place was dying. Adriana changed the menu to trendy fusion garbage that tasted like nothing. She fired experienced staff and replaced them with college friends who didn't know how to hold a knife. Health inspections started failing. Regulars stopped coming. Dad mortgaged his house to keep the doors open. Then 3 months ago, my phone rang at 2 a.m. My cousin, "Your dad's restaurant burned down." I sat up in bed. "What happened?" "Adriana left the deep fryer on overnight. The whole kitchen caught fire. The building is gone. Nobody was hurt, thank God, but the restaurant my grandfather built from nothing in 1974 was reduced to ash. Insurance wouldn't cover it because Adriana let the policy lapse 6 months ago. Dad lost everything. The restaurant, his house, his retirement. All gone because he handed his legacy to someone who couldn't remember to turn off a fryer. He showed up at my downtown location last week. I barely recognized him. He looked 20 years older standing in my lobby with his hat in his hands. "I need help," he whispered. "I have nowhere to go." I sat him down and brought him a plate of his mother's original recipe that I'd kept on every menu I'd ever written. He took one bite and started crying. "This tastes exactly like hers." "I know," I replied. "I learned it in your kitchen, the one you said I was too silly to run." He couldn't look at me. I was wrong about everything. "Yeah," I said, "you were." I gave him a job, not because he deserved it, but because that's what you do for family even when they don't do it for you. He washes dishes now at my first location, the tiny 12-table bistro. He shows up early and stays late and never complains. Sometimes I catch him watching me work the line with this look on his face like he's finally seeing me for the first time. Adriana hasn't spoken to any of us since the fire. Last I heard, she was selling skincare products online. Some things you just can't teach.